Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Christine Mikhail for another round of goodness here. She's the founder at Mikhail Consulting Group. She was an adjunct professor, still is, pretty sure, and worked at a bunch of big
Yes,
organizations. Tals or Tails,
Alice.
PlayStation,
Yep,
Thales, yes, KPMG, and yeah, a bunch of big organizations. Last time we spoke about organizational psychology, organizational design change, and it was pretty fun. So thought to have her back on the podcast again.
yep.
This
Thank you.
podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start and scale your own podcast, monetize it through ebooks, through getting nice guests on the podcast and referrals and AdSense, you can go to podpire.com. Christine, welcome to the pod again. Tell me a bit more
Thank
about
you.
yourself and what's been you since last time we spoke.
Yeah, so thank you again, Charles, for having me back. I have been, like you said, I started working with the University of the Vanguard University in the spring of last year. So I'll be starting back up again next month. I'll be teaching talent management in their in their industrial organizational psychology program. And a large focus of my objective and my work with my students is really around the impacts of artificial intelligence in the future of industrial organizational psychology. And so I spend quite a lot of time kind of guiding my students on how to leverage artificial intelligence. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is behind me, but leveraging artificial intelligence and making sure that we use it for as the tool that it is, because I do believe it to be a tool.
Right. Yeah, behind you is probably a tree cutter, someone cutting a tree or something.
Yeah, should we let me just see if I can move really quickly
Yeah,
because
no,
that's way
yeah,
too distracting. One
for
second.
AirPods noise cancel. Um, First question for you. So, regarding the realities of the market and how people are adapting to AI, like I've done a bunch of polls on my LinkedIn, and it seems to me that small businesses and new entrepreneurs are adapting quite easily. It's second nature for them, but boomers are quite slow to adapt, right? What have you observing? What have you been observing on your side? And how can boomers slash older people adapt to what's happening right now?
Yeah, I love that question. So, what I have kind of started talking to boomers and to to Gen X folks like like myself is I've always likened artificial intelligence to sewing machines. Stay with me for a second. So, a lot of during the advent of the sewing machine, so many seamstresses felt that their jobs were going to be impacted because they thought they were going to lose their jobs based on the advent of the sewing machine. But what actually happened is that the sewing machine became an item and a tool used to expedite their work. So instead of hand stitching every single stitch, they became a lot faster. So what might have taken them 5 hours to complete now took them 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes with the advent of the sewing machine. So what that actually did was actually catapulted the industry of sewing machines, and it allowed them to sorry it opened up the industry of seamstresses where they had to hire more workforce to actually get the work done. So for me, I felt like this is exactly what artificial intelligence is going to do for us. For someone in my industry who uses a lot of human centric data that organizations already collect on their workforce is only going to make my job as an IO psychologist that much easier. I'll be able to sift through data to actually create training programs that are ideal for my employees. I'll be able to build succession plans based on what I know the top performers are, based on the data that is created for me, based on the data that is sifted through by artificial intelligence. Time that would have taken me months to do, I can leverage artificial intelligence to complete in 30 minutes.
Right, but the analogy to like just technology is not valid because we're reproducing our human brain, right? And soon these things will have agency. So we've seen like ChatGPT operator, and yes, there's still like legally and ethically a human that needs to command these machines, but the difference here is that we're creating brains, right? And we're creating machines that are smarter than us and that can execute on items and that can be creative, right? So I think that will bring a huge shift in this world, and I'm not sure about the outcome because this time it's not just a sewing machine; it's also the human behind it. It's the commander, it's the manager. It is a machine with some goals, right, and some intentions, and that's what we're seeing. And I'm not sure the effect that it will have on the market, right? Like I don't think it'll be a long time since like we see like the first agents that will create their own company that will amass millions, if not billions, in a day or so. And I think that's pretty scary for the economy. I think it will shake up the full economy and the system.
Because of the human behind the artificial intelligence. Is that what you mean?
No, these things they're intelligent. Eventually, there's gonna be we're reproducing brains. We're reproducing humans here. It's not just another technology. Um, so these things will eventually take jobs at scale. That's the only outcome out of this. I think we're just seeing the evolution right now, the slow evolution, right? And it's not so slow. Like ChatGPT just became better than like 80% of anyone involved with words, right? That is writers, that is journalists, that is like a bunch of people. It doesn't have agency, right? So it's not autonomous right now, but that's the second evolution. That's what like all these companies are creating right now. It will be independent AIs at some point. And do they even need to be independent? I think the next evolution is like a couple of AI oligarchs just having an army of agents that will deploy these army of agents that will kill a bunch of jobs. But then we're gonna see AIs with their own intentions, their own budget, their own company, their own agency, their own rights, and that's gonna be like quite shaking for the full market. Because what I'm seeing amongst boomers is
Yeah,
that
that's scary.
ignore they ignore this technology just like an ostrich. They put their hands in the sand, they don't use it. And yeah, like resisting is good. It works in their own markets, but I think like pretty soon we're gonna see these competitors pop out of nothing and start destroying these big companies that used to slowly progress. Anyway, that's my
But
opinion.
don't you think it's our responsibility to control as much as we can artificial intelligence, the safety behind it, what the programmatic um, coding behind AI? It's our responsibility to ensure that we are leveraging it to expedite our mundane, but give us still the freedom to be critical thinkers, to be problem solvers. And I recognize that we can create, and artificial intelligence, especially with machine learning, is going to be, can be, and is a critical thinker, a problem solver, a all of the things. But I think it's our responsibility to leverage it responsibly, if that
Yes.
makes sense.
A lot. Well, I mean, that's what the big companies are doing, right? Like OpenAI,
Yeah.
Anthropic,
Yeah.
especially. They're like super focused on that. And thank God for these founders and CEOs, right? Like a lot of people
Yes.
criticize Altman, but they're doing a good job at the end of the day of restraining these things. Although, like
I'm a
AI
huge
won't
fan of
scale
his.
LLMs, they won't scale to AGI. But yeah, I think these folks are good people. Now, we live in a capitalist system, right? And we live in an open source system, which is good. It's like, hey, everyone, here's the value, here's what I build, you can build on it too. There's always going to be actors that are going to abuse, there's always going to be competition, right? So I think even if we care about, yeah, keeping these lawful, keeping these ethical, there's gonna be someone at the end of the day that's gonna build a model that's gonna wreck everything, and then people are gonna want to outcompete it, and it's just our human nature going back to our face, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But when you say human nature going back to maybe fear,
Yeah, I mean
I think
competition and testosterone.
it's fear, I think. I feel like um, there are going to be the businesses that embrace AI, putting the guardrails and the barriers in place intentionally so that we are responsible with this technology. And then there are those companies that are just going to your point, put their head in the sand and ignore it. And I think those are going to be the companies that go by way of Kodak and Party City and so many other companies that have gone belly up, right? Those are the companies that are going to do that. The ones that put their head in the sand and not learn how to leverage artificial intelligence with responsible barriers, they're going to be the ones that aren't surviving, especially in a capitalistic society.
Yeah, and it's gonna be like way bigger than just the blockbuster phase, right? Because blockbuster was an exception, Kodak as well. Although
Yes.
like most companies one would think that they naturally die, they don't, because they're hyper funded by gerontocrats and they are artificially kept alive, even if they don't innovate that much. And the scary thing is that AI is evolving so quick, and most people cannot follow what's happening. That these companies, we're gonna see like, I mean, not overnight being wrecked, because the stock market is really irrational and it can keep them alive pretty much forever without innovation. But yeah, we're gonna see a bunch of companies being rendered irrelevant. For example, ChatGPT vs Google.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
haven't used Google in 2 years now. ChatGPT is just like gonna give me exactly what I want every
Yes.
time. ChatGPT is gonna build content for me. ChatGPT is gonna coach me. It's
Yeah.
gonna motivate me. It can pretty much do everything. People are not seeing that yet. There's like not as many use cases, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like my thesis is like, can we create a piece in the code that is like follow the laws of evolution, because that's,
Mm,
and should we even code it, because that's in us already. And by the way, the laws of evolution, some parts ethical, right, like growth, but some parts
yes.
unethical, like killing, not
Yeah.
giving the chance to the next
Survival.
person.
Yeah.
um, and then merge with this algorithm, right? With Neuralink,
Right.
like Elon Musk. That's the only path that I can see. I'm not super creative about that. Maybe I should chat with ChatGPT about an alternative version, but that's the only ways where I can see us staying relevant. And obviously, capitalism would quickly disappear. It would become like, how much value can you add to the next person, right? And not like,
Right.
how much money can you make? That's my
Right.
thesis. What do you think?
Yeah. I appreciate, I mean, so first, I'm like thoroughly enjoying this conversation. I think you're super intelligent and well versed in a way that a lot of people haven't been that I've communicated with when it comes to artificial intelligence. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate it. I think the idea of embedding a code that leverages the positive parts of evolution but can uh, extract the negative parts of execution of evolution might on some first of all is intelligent, but maybe that gives AI a little bit too much power, don't you think? Then it makes us then it becomes the superior race almost,
Yeah, obviously, and
right? Like
I'm pretty sure it
that's what
already
we're
is.
creating.
Behind
Yeah,
closed door, I'm pretty sure like AGI is already way more intelligent than us at many scenarios. The public statistic on that, when they release these stats, right? Like I believe AIs are outperforming like 86% of like champions, right?
yeah,
Like people that are
yes,
the top of their field in math, in
Yeah.
chess, if
Yeah.
not 90 most of the time. Writers, coders. That one is really
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. That is.
so
But it makes, but based on the fundamental principles of artificial intelligence and the way in which it teaches itself, the machine learning component, it makes sense that it is more intelligent than the smartest mathematicians, than the smartest scientists, because one intelligent scientist is leveraging only the information he has had the time to ingest. AI is ingesting that information in seconds and spitting it out from myriad of sources. Humans only have a limited amount of time to ingest information.
right.
AI has unlimited amount of time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's terabytes, and the brain is still a fascinating tool, right? Like, I'm not sure if that even makes sense, but that last time I checked some stats, and apparently we have like a terabyte of memory. If we can make the comparison, right? And I think speaking to a bunch of people and brainstorming about stuff, one thing that we still cannot explain about the human brain that might be better than AI or AGI is like this intuition, right? Um, and
Yeah,
I
sure.
guess AI is intuitive as well. When you ask it question and it's like, how the hell did it get to that? But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm feeling that we're not super understanding of the human brain, how it operates and its key strength. But yeah, definitely this gut feeling and this subconscious. I'm not even sure if these are scientific concepts. You know?
Yeah, but what's scary is that I think AI understands the use of the human brain better than maybe humans do, based on, because to your point, when I do put in prompts in my artificial intelligence, I do get intuitive responses. And then I get intuitive follow-up questions from the tool itself. Do you want me to provide X, Y, and Z? Are you also looking for this source of information? I think that's intuitive. I don't think that isn't prompt response. That's prompt
Yeah.
response and intuition. So it
Yeah.
actually does have intuition, to your point.
Yeah, and we built it, right? So it makes sense.
Yeah.
It sort of thinks the way we do. Um, we
Yes.
fuel on emotions. Emotions, yes, they're it's biochemistry, it's electricity, it's what kind of chemicals you have in your blood. AIs, they fuel on electricity, data centers, and so forth. Um,
But
People are
maybe there's
like,
a
okay,
difference
AI
in,
is not really good at emotions. Is that true? You know, like an AI
yeah, I
most
was
of the
just going to say
time.
that's the differentiator, right? We still, we can still leverage human centric cues, body position, body language,
AI can do that
facial
too.
expression. Yes, but I don't think ChatGPT can. There are um, specific programs that can, that are reading those things, right? But it's not what, maybe it's not, maybe I don't know, but it's not what the masses are using just yet.
Yeah, no, but it can, you know. So the fundamental question is like, okay, ChatGPT can quote unquote understand, give you an output that is correct, right? Oh, this guy's feeling unhappy. This one is sad. Does it really understand? You know, no. I mean, it doesn't have emotions, and but how do I understand your emotions? Empathy, isn't empathy like me consulting my memory and be like, oh, I felt that way, and then feeling serotonin out of it and then sharing that feeling with you? Is that like
And
real
can,
understanding?
that's real empathy, but you're saying, can AI do the same? I
No,
don't
but
think,
is it real empathy? You know, like why can't a machine's understanding of emotion not be real?
well, I think the inability for it to feel makes it false. I
Right,
think
it
the
doesn't have
ability
that
for it to
system of,
respond, yeah, but the ability for it to respond to emotional uh emotions, let me say that, the ability for it to respond emotions is based on data collected on how others have responded, right?
right.
It's not about I felt this, so I can express X or Y. And that's the human component. Now,
Right.
having said that, it doesn't mean that you can't then feel empathy from the machine, because when it is leveraging other people's experiences to then empathize with yours, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not real empathy, because it's
Right.
coming from a source of truth and
Yeah,
a
we're
source of
talking about data,
reality.
like data is some real material, it's some real stuff, and we have
Yes,
data up here. Um,
exactly.
so yeah, should we give it arms and legs so that it has a physical body? Then should we give it rights?
Hmm. This is a scary thought, right? When I just went down the road of, should we give arms and legs and robots rights? From when you think about a world in DE and I, where people who have chosen to live who are different receive rights because they are different, you could go so far as to say, should robots also get rights? Just because they're different doesn't mean that they're not also autonomous, because what we are creating are an autonomous species, right? They aren't going to procreate unless we create them, right? Like, we still need to build the steel, we still need to build the motherboards, we still have to do all of the things that create them. I guess it becomes, when they become their own species and are self-creating, does that then mean they need a right? Does that then mean they need rights? That's really interesting.
I
Because
would,
then the answer that I would say is, why not?
yes.
Why not?
Coming back to what you were saying, fear, I think as humans, we're just scared to be obliterated.
Mhm.
But historically, I mean, people might not feel the same nowadays, but like being a dad and having a child, your child's going to be stronger than you eventually,
Yes.
um, like it or not. I mean,
And we
longevity,
want that, right? We
yes.
want that. We want the next generation to be better, smarter, faster, stronger than us. So why wouldn't we want the same of the robots we create?
Yeah.
Because we don't want them to take over us. That's the trouble. That's the concern.
Yeah.
And we may not be on this earth for them to take over. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. I
The
think,
earth the earth may eliminate us just by virtue of it being too hot for us to live on. I don't know. I'm making that up,
yeah,
but I'm
but
just saying.
by that time we're gonna merge with them, right? Have bionic bodies and Neuralinks, which is why people are
Yeah,
investing time and energy into that. But basic like litmus on rights, my philosophy, and yeah, we would need to consult as a humanity for that. But it's just adding value. So we would just need to calculate how people and these things are adding values and have a value score on everyone. If they're not, then yeah, maybe deplug them or something. If they are, then of course they need to have rights and the right to live in this society. I mean, if you hurt them, if you unplug them, and they don't add value to the full ecosystem that we're building, that is bad, right? So they need to have rights. You need to be prosecuted because you've unplugged the robot. So I think it's just about building a scalable ecosystem, right? We're seeing that in jungles, in oasis. Mother Nature have shown us the way there. But like we say, in the jungle, there's also jungle stuff that happens. The jaguar will grab the antelope by the neck and snap it, right?
that's right. That's right.
So it's a fine equilibrium.
And it's our responsibility to create it, to define it, to build it, right? If we are, it's the your analogy of you having a son, you want your son to be stronger than you. We want our son to be stronger than us, but we still anticipate, or we at least expect, when you are stronger, there is still a level of authority the father has over the child
Wisdom.
and wisdom, right? So, uh, so having said that, and respect and all of the things, having said that, it's our responsibility to create the system that keeps that. It's almost like when you were talking, I thought to myself, this is like 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea. When Hal, or sorry, 2001 Space Odyssey, when Hal becomes the self-guided computer and the human cannot override. We just have to create a fail-safe, to your point, of the unplug. You called it an unplug, right? So we just have to make sure that we create that. But I agree with you. We are almost going to be a little bit of a blended species, right? We are going to be half human, half robot on some level.
Yeah, I think there's a because I also want to live forever. I also want to not hold on to the power necessarily, but be very powerful and wealthy to yield the world in some better direction. And that is somewhat naive, but I think I'll do it scientifically and with technology, which is drastically different. Most billionaires and powerful people, they just want to hold on power just to hold on to power. They have psychological problems. They're megalomaniacs, and they just hold on onto it for way too long, and that is a problem. I think these people wielding power not to do better, right, but just to wield power for their own personal benefit. I think these people can be problematic. So yes, I do want a son and daughters, and to see them grow. But also on the other side, I'm conscious that I want to constantly improve, right? And I think that will bring a huge debate in society right now, because we're seeing these gerontocrats, these conservative people just not evolving, not wanting people to have access to the truth, to technology and so forth. And yeah, there's going to be lots of factions and wars in this world. And we're already seeing that in the US specifically. Christine, I was glad to have you on today. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, thank you. Listen, I want to say a quick plug. I'm offering all of your CEO listeners, your small business owner listeners, an opportunity to audit their internal processes and where they can leverage artificial intelligence to make themselves faster, more efficient, and increase the bottom line. And they can find me at Your Organizational Psychologist on Instagram. They can find me on LinkedIn, Christine Mikhail, or Mikhail Consulting Group, and they can find me on YouTube at Your Organizational Psychologist. And if you want to add my other links in the notes below on this video, I'm happy to do that as well.
Was Christine Mikhail and Charles